When you think of the loveliest person you know, what image actually pops into your head? Is it, the famous person, the really respected one, maybe someone powerful? Or is it that friend who posts those, well, relentlessly cheerful motivational quotes, the CEO who seems to nail everything?
Yeah, we're sort of conditioned, aren't we, to link loveliness, true beauty with,
Yeah.
well, with flawlessness,
Ah,
or maybe relentless optimism, achieving that kind of, public perfection.
exactly. But our mission today in this deep dive is to really dig into a definition of genuine loveliness that it pretty much flips those conventional ideas right over.
Hmm. The material we're looking at suggests something pretty radical, actually. It says the truly beautiful, the really lovely people. They aren't the ones who somehow dodge sadness.
No.
They're the ones who've mastered something quite profound, almost spiritual. They've found an optimal perspective on their unhappiness.
An optimal perspective on unhappiness. Okay. So this deep dive then is really about what? Psychological honesty. It's power.
That's it, precisely. It's about the liberating effect of psychological honesty.
Oh.
We're exploring how shedding pride, intellectual pride, the need to look perfect, Mandel,
Yeah.
and how accepting your deepest flaws, your failures, maybe even your capacity for harm, how that becomes the secret sauce, the unexpected ingredient for real trustworthiness and for deep, genuine empathy.
It feels like such a paradox, though. You're saying the loveliest people are the ones who've had the guts, the courage to fully admit their own potential for, well, cowardice,
Corruption.
corruption. And yet, those are the people who, knowing all that about themselves, can laugh with this really exceptional, rich glee.
That's the paradox we need to unpack, exactly.
Yeah.
How do we get from admitting these fundamental flaws, this inner darkness, to achieving that kind of resilient joy? It's quite a journey.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. If the goal is deep connection, profound trustworthiness, where does this journey actually begin?
Well, according to this profile, the absolute first step, and it's maybe painful, but essential, is like a kind of psychological surgery. It's the abandonment of pride.
Abandoning pride. Tearing down that need to keep up a perfect front, that
Yeah.
facade.
That energy-sapping need to maintain a respectable, flawless image. That's the core idea. These individuals are defined by what they've consciously let go of. They shed that burden often long ago. The need to impress,
Yeah.
gone.
And because they're not performing anymore.
Exactly. Because the performance is over, they can tell you frankly, like, without shame, without trying to manipulate you, exactly how lonely they feel,
Right.
or how deeply sad they might be, or what regrets genuinely haunt them.
But hang on, if they're that honest about loneliness or sadness,
Hmm.
doesn't that risk making them seem, weak? Or maybe unstable to an outsider? We're sort of trained to project confidence, right? Not self-hatred.
So what's the psychological purpose of facing your own self-hatred? Accepting your deep regrets. The purpose is authenticity. And authenticity is the real bedrock of connection, isn't it? They don't run from those dark corners inside themselves. They choose to, well, to inhabit them, honestly. And this is the crucial distinction we need to make. They aren't just passively unhappy. Lots of people are unhappy, maybe in shallow ways or self-pitying ways. These people have reached, as the source puts it, that optimal perspective on their unhappiness.
Okay, what does that mean, though? Optimal perspective.
It means they've stopped measuring their internal reality against some impossible social ideal of normal or sane. The unhappiness isn't seen as a personal failure they have to hide anymore. It's reframed. It becomes a universal condition, something to be observed, accepted, maybe even understood.
So, if I'm following this right, the key is stopping the performance. Like if I stop spending, say, 80% of my mental energy on keeping up this perfect facade for everyone, then that 80% is suddenly free to actually connect with the person right in front of me.
Precisely. It's an enormous release of mental resources. The moment they stop trying to appear anything successful, happy, morally spotless, they become psychologically available, truly present. And that honesty, the kind that's born from actually facing one's own, let's say, self-hatred or shadows, paradoxically, it makes them incredibly strong.
CERN because they have nothing left to hide.
Exactly. Nothing left to protect. No fragile image to defend. That's real strength.
Okay, so that psychological groundwork, that honesty, it leads us into the next phase,
Yeah.
which is where you said the deep loveliness really starts to blossom. Radical, shared understanding.
Yes, it moves way beyond just standard sympathy, the polite nod. It's about deep acquaintance with the internal chaos we all carry around. It's instant recognition.
Instant recognition.
How? Well, imagine, like the source material suggests, imagine telling this person the strangest thing about yourself, the oddest, the most regrettable, That secret you usually keep completely locked down. Maybe a really petty resentment you feel ashamed of or some embarrassing past desire. The truly lovely person, they get it instantly from the inside.
So they don't gasp or judge or rush in with some easy advice.
No, none of that. They simply recognize the truth of that messy human impulse. Because they've been there. They have navigated those same internal muddy roads themselves. The sources are pretty clear on this. There are basically no follies around sex, status, ambition, love, money that they aren't already fully acquainted with from their own history.
They're like veterans of the human condition, and they're not hiding the scars.
That's a great way to put it. They wear their scars openly. And that shared familiarity, that deep knowing of what it feels like to fail, sometimes spectacularly, that is the engine of their empathy.
So they're not trying to fix you or judge you. They actually want to get to that howl inside you. Is that how it was phrased?
Yes, the howl inside you. They want that confession, that dark truth. Why? Because they are so profoundly familiar with the howl inside them. They've already done the hard work. They've gone into the weirdest, darkest, most illogical bits of themselves. And because of that, they can instantly connect with the oddest, most illogical bits of you without flinching.
Wow. That really reframes what makes someone a good listener, doesn't it? They're not just hearing your words. They're almost reading your internal script because they wrote a similar one themselves ages ago.
Exactly. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if the real measure of your capacity to love and understand other people? What if it's simply the depth of your own self-acceptance? Your willingness to face your own internal wreckage? Because that self-knowledge it vaporizes judgment and replaces it with instant, powerful recognition, connection.
Okay, this is leading us to what you called the most counterintuitive part. We tend to equate being trustworthy with, I don't know, purity, innocence, maybe consistency. Yet these sources are saying these people are trustworthy because they understand corruption. How does acknowledging your flaws, even your potential for evil, make you reliable?
Well, think about it. It creates a kind of predictability, maybe. A psychological risk assessment, if you like. They can be trusted precisely because they've had the courage, the honesty, to fully fathom their own propensities, their leanings towards cowardice, maybe corruption, hypocrisy. They know exactly where their own moral weak spots are, probably because they've bumped up against them, maybe even failed because of them.
So they're less likely to be hypocritical.
Much less likely. And less likely to judge you harshly for the same flaws they see in themselves. And crucially, they're less likely to fall into that really dangerous delusion of their own moral superiority.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. You'd trust someone who admits they know their own darkness more than someone pretending to be a perfect beam of light, right?
Yeah.
Because that light is probably just a facade, and facades shatter under pressure.
Precisely. And this self-knowledge gives them this incredibly clear-eyed view of society, too. They really don't give a jot about your reputation, that social currency we all spend our lives trying to build up.
The titles, the awards, the perfect social media feed.
All of it. They tend to look right past it. Why? Because they have a pretty good idea what people in general are like underneath the performance. They understand that the public show is almost always just that, a show, often quite shallow.
And this leads to that really interesting mix you mentioned, cynicism and kindness, a kind of misanthropy.
A necessary misanthropy, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yes, the source material really highlights this critical paradox in how they see the world. They combine this thorough, almost radical misanthropy for the group, the fickle crowd, the judging collective, the prideful, hypocritical mob, with an intense, deep love and tenderness for the individual standing right there, exposed, vulnerable.
So they hate the human race for its posturing.
But they adore the individual human for their suffering, for their struggle. It's a vital distinction. They don't trust society's games, but once you drop your own performance, once you show them your howl, they trust you completely. It's quite beautiful, really.
This psychological realism, this acceptance, it sounds like it could be an antidote to a certain kind of modern exhaustion. If they've accepted reality, maybe they've moved past that frantic chase for conventional success, career wins, public approval, finding the one.
Exactly. It releases them from the tyranny of forced cheerfulness, what the sources call positivism. They know deep down that life is largely pain and mystery and error. They've fully internalized that. It's not cynicism, it's realism.
Which is why they'd never try to sell you some cheap solution or tell you everything happens for a reason.
Never. They won't try to persuade you that tomorrow will definitely be brighter if today feels bleak. In fact, the source uses this amazing phrase, they'd never be so mean as to try to cheer you up.
So mean. That's powerful. It reframes trying to cure someone up as what? Disrespectful.
Potentially, yes. It implies that rushing to erase someone's genuine suffering, plastering over it with positivity, can actually be a form of emotional aggression, or at least dismissal. They respect the reality of your pain. They respect the deep disappointment that's just inherent in being human.
And because they don't expect life overall to go smoothly.
Their humor becomes this necessary commentary on the sheer absurdity of it all. That gap between what the world sort of promises, happiness, success, ease,
Yeah.
and what it actually delivers, pain, error, confusion, it's just so wide. The only rational response, often, is very dark humor.
Right. It's not giggling about trivia. It's that robust laughter of the veteran, the survivor who sees the complete folly of the whole enterprise.
Yes, a deep intellectual amusement at the tragicomic nature of existence. And that is the magnificent payoff. For all that painful self-acceptance, for facing the darkness against this backdrop of, let's face it, guaranteed despair, inevitable error, constant pain. They laugh. And they laugh with exceptional richness and glee. It's not superficial happiness. It's not denial.
It's joy born from accepting failure.
Exactly. Born from acceptance, not denial. It's this incredibly resilient joy that says, yes, this is often awful. And yes, it's also profoundly, absurdly funny. And I will find the humor in this chaos. That deep, rich laugh. It's the sound of freedom. Freedom from impossible expectations.
So, okay, we've traced this path. Psychological honesty, abandoning pride, facing the howl within, understanding corruption, finding dark humor. What does this all add up to?
Ultimately, it defines the kind of companion we need most when life hits rock bottom, when things are at their most brutal, their most difficult, when all the facades have to drop whether we like it or not.
The source material is very specific here, wasn't it? These aren't the people you call for, like stock tips.
Definitely not. These are the anchors. The ones who hold you steady in the storm precisely because they aren't demanding you pretend the sun is shining. They know it's raining. Hard. They're the sort of people you'd want, as the description vividly puts it, on the way to the scaffold.
Wow. Or in the trenches.
Or in the hospital bed next to you on the cancer ward. Why? Because they meet your raw vulnerability with their own settled, examined vulnerability. They don't judge your fear. They recognize it because they know their own. They don't demand positivity. They accept the terror, the pain, the confusion alongside you.
It makes you realize we need so many more people like this in our lives. People who are genuinely comfortable with the darkness because they've spent time mapping their own internal chaos. Maybe even more than meeting them. We should try harder, shouldn't we, to become this kind of radically honest, deeply accepting person for others.
That feels like the ultimate takeaway, doesn't it?
Yeah. So that brings us towards the end of this deep dive. We've really tried to redefine true loveliness, finding it built not on avoiding flaws, but on courageous vulnerability, on honesty about our internal howl, and on that surprising ability to find a robust, dark, rich laughter, even when you fully expect error and pain ahead.
It's interesting, isn't it? We spend such a colossal amount of energy trying to project strength and happiness out into the world. We often believe that our optimism, our cheerfulness is the greatest gift we can offer someone else. But what if that's wrong? What if genuine, deep connection actually requires dropping the mask? Facing our full capacity for cowardice, for corruption, for despair. If that's true, then maybe the most generous thing you can offer the person isn't your relentless forced optimism, but your own well-examined, utterly honest despair, something for you to mull over, perhaps explore on your own.